Throughout history, there have been warriors whose power and cruelty made them feared even centuries after their death. Today, we'll explore the 10 most feared warriors of all time, men and women who shaped the course of history through their skill, strategy, and the terror they inspired. We begin with Attila, the Scourge of God, leader of the Huns in the 5th century. Under his command, this group of nomadic tribes from East Asia became a devastating force that terrorized Europe for years. Attila employed tactics of swift warfare and mobility that caught his enemies off guard. The Huns were masters of mounted archery, capable of firing arrows with precision, even at full gallop. His greatest skill lay not only on the battlefield, but in his use of fear as a weapon. Before attacking a city, he would send emissaries with a choice: surrender or face total annihilation. Although he never conquered Rome, his impact weakened the Western Roman Empire so much that it collapsed shortly after his death. It is said that Attila claimed that where his horse trod, grass would never grow again, a grim reminder of the fear he instilled in his enemies. Leonidas I and the 300 Spartans in 480 BC, Leonidas I, king of Sparta, led a legendary resistance against the Persian army of Xerxes at the pass of the Thermopylae. Though outnumbered by over 50 to 1, Leonidas and his 300 Spartan warriors became a symbol of defiance. The Spartans, trained in military discipline from childhood, were formidable soldiers. The Spartan phalanx, a formation of shields and spears, was nearly impenetrable in narrow terrain like Thermopylae. For 3 days, they resisted waves of Persian attacks, killing thousands of enemy soldiers. Though they were eventually betrayed and surrounded, their sacrifice allowed the Greeks to regroup and ultimately defeat the Persians at the Battle of Salamis. Leonidas proved that courage and strategy could challenge even the mightiest of armies. His name still resonates as the epitome of heroism. Genghis Khan, born as Temujin, founded the Mongol Empire, the largest contiguous land empire in history. His rise from a tribal leader to a world conqueror was unstoppable. Genghis unified the Mongol tribes, which were previously divided and at odds. This allowed him to form a disciplined and loyal army. The Mongols used innovative strategies, like lightning attacks and feigned retreats, to confuse and defeat their enemies. Their mastery of mounted archery gave them a tactical edge in any terrain. During his campaigns, Genghis conquered vast regions across Asia, from China to Persia, leaving entire cities destroyed if they refused to submit. Genghis Khan was feared, not just for his cruelty, but for his strategic brilliance. He reshaped the world map, and through his brutality, connected cultures and regions like never before. 4. Joan of Arc claimed to have received divine visions instructing her to free France from English rule. Despite being young and inexperienced in warfare, her conviction inspired both soldiers and nobles alike. She led the liberation of Orleans in 1429, a pivotal victory that revitalized the French cause and enabled the coronation of King Charles VII. Captured by the Burgundians, allies of the English, she was condemned for heresy and burned at the stake in 1431. She was later canonized as a Saint Joan, proved that faith and courage could turn a simple peasant into an immortal legend. Her name remains a symbol of resistance and hope. Vlad the Impaler Vlad III of Wallachia, nicknamed the Impaler, is remembered as one of the most brutal leaders in history. He inspired the legend of Dracula and struck fear into his enemies. Vlad used brutal methods to defend his land from Ottoman invaders. His signature method, impalement, involved victims being pierced with stakes and left to die slowly. He is said to have impaled 20,000 Ottoman soldiers during a single campaign, creating a forest of bodies as a warning to other invaders. Despite his notoriety, Vlad was also a brilliant strategist who managed to hold off a much larger empire. To his people, Vlad was a protector. To his enemies, a monster. His legacy is as dark as it is fascinating. 6. Miyamoto Musashi. Miyamoto Musashi was Japan's most legendary samurai, known for his unmatched skill in combat and philosophy. He never lost a duel in his life. Musashi won over 60 duels, including his famous showdown with Sasaki Kojiro, where he used a wooden oar carved into a sword to defeat his opponent. He developed the two-sword fighting style, known as Nitten Ichiryu. He authored the Book of Five Rings, a treatise on strategy, philosophy, and martial arts, which remains studied today. Musashi was not only a warrior, but a thinker. His life and work are a testament to how dedication can lead to absolute mastery. Shaka Zulu. Shaka Zulu transformed a small tribal group into a military empire that dominated southern Africa. His tactical genius and military innovations made him a feared and respected figure. Shaka introduced the short stabbing spear, the Ikawa, designed for close combat. His buffalo horn strategy, which encircled enemies, revolutionized warfare. In his region, he unified scattered tribes into a single kingdom, creating a disciplined army that outmatched its enemies in skill and coordination. Shaka was not only a warrior, but a visionary who redefined the art of war in Africa. William Wallace. William Wallace, known as the Braveheart of Scotland, was one of the most courageous and feared leaders in the fight for Scottish independence. Though he was an ordinary man, his legacy as a warrior and symbol of resistance endures to this day. Wallace led a revolt against English oppression in the late 13th century. His most notable victory was at the Battle of Stirling Bridge, where his smaller army defeated the English by luring them onto a narrow bridge and attacking them at a disadvantage. His tactics involved using terrain and ambushing enemy armies, destabilizing the better-equipped English forces. He was eventually captured and brutally executed in 1305, but his sacrifice inspired the Scots to continue their fight for independence. William Wallace showed that willpower and ingenuity could be more powerful than any army. His cry of freedom still resonates as a symbol of resistance to tyranny. Saladin Saladin, the great Kurdish Sultan, was one of the most admired figures of the Crusades. Feared for his military prowess, but respected for his honor and chivalry, Saladin led Muslim forces against the Crusaders in the 12th century. He reconquered Jerusalem in 1187, after the decisive Battle of Hattin, where he almost completely destroyed the Crusader army. Unlike many leaders of his time, Saladin allowed Christians to leave Jerusalem peacefully after his victory, earning respect even from his enemies. He was known for his tactical brilliance and ability to unite diverse Muslim groups under a common cause, something that had been nearly impossible before his leadership. Saladin was not just a ruthless warrior, but an example of how honor can coexist with war. His legacy is a blend of strength and nobility. Alexander the Great, the young king of Macedonia, conquered more territory in 12 years than most empires did in centuries. His ambition and military genius made him one of the most feared and admired leaders of all time. Alexander never lost a battle. His most iconic victory was at the Battle of Gaugamela, where he defeated a much larger Persian army led by Darius. 3. Securing dominance over Asia. He introduced revolutionary tactics, like combining the phalanx with cavalry units to disorganize enemy forces. Beyond being a conqueror, Alexander was also a cultural visionary. He founded more than 20 cities, many named Alexandria, and promoted the spread of Hellenistic culture across his empire. His empire stretched from Greece to Egypt, Persia, and even parts of India, leaving an indelible mark on history. Alexander sought not just to conquer lands, but to unify cultures and expand knowledge. His legacy is that of a leader whose ambition knew no bounds. Each of these warriors changed history in their own way. From the ferocity of Attila to the nobility of Saladin, each figure represents a unique aspect of power and influence in war. But the question remains, who was the most feared? Let us know your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating stories.